Hello. Hi.
Here we are again.
Here we are. This is
42 acres.
Yes, 42 acres. We're back here. We've not left. We've been here all year. £800 Agile Gorilla, and I'm Jem
Tobias Mayer.
Tobias, what are we talking about today?
I've
got the quote here, by the way.
Yeah, we talked about psychological safety in one of our previous talks, didn't we? About whose job is psychological safety?
Whose job is it?
Is it? And we talked about that. But you wanted to talk more about this idea of a term that we've both heard recently, brave space.
Brave space, yes.
Rather than safe space. How do we create brave space?
How do we? Can we just inject a quote which kind of gives me some context into
this? Do that.
So this is from somebody called Dr. Amy Edmondson, and it's from a book called The Fearless Organization, 2018. Insisting on acts of courage puts the onus on individuals without creating the conditions where the expectation is likely to be met. For speaking up to become routine, psychological safety and expectations for speaking up must become institutionalized and systemized.
All right. Big words, isn't it?
Big, powerful.
So Amy Edmondson, as far as I know, is the person that coined the phrase psychological safety.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think she actually came up with that term.
I didn't know that.
And her research was originally with medical teams.
Oh, right.
And
interesting.
She saw that some medical teams were making a lot more mistakes than other medical teams.
Okay.
And she figured the ones that were the safest teams were making the least mistakes. And the research showed the opposite. The teams that had the most psychological safety were making more mistakes. Well, that was the surface. That was what appeared on the surface. What in fact it was is that they were all making roughly the same amount of mistakes. But the safer team were able to reveal their mistakes and do something about them rather than hide them.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that is interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's very interesting. And so the psychological safety she talks about allowed people to be fearless and talk about the mistakes they were making in order to repair them, make them better rather than sweeping them under the rug.
Great thing, right?
It's fantastic, yeah, of course.
Great thing.
We can do that with medical teams, or we can certainly do that in the software industry.
And I can see the intention behind talking about safe space and these types of things. But there's one thing about that quote that just doesn't sit right with me.
And I agree with you, yeah. And I just,
doesn't feel right.
And I think that we might be able to get at why it doesn't feel right to us, and it might feel right to other people. But in the same piece of work that Amy Edmondson did, she came up with essentially 3 basic principles for creating a psychologically safe environment.
Right.
And the first one is to look at the problems we're solving as learning problems rather than execution problems. So if we face everything we're doing as a learning moment rather than something we have to just get done, then we're in a better space. The second one, I think the third one was curiosity, and the second one I think was something about acknowledging your own infallibility and being open about your own infallibility.
And vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and your vulnerability. It's kind of saying, I don't know, can you help me? And I think the third one is continue to create an environment of curiosity.
That's nice.
Which is great. I mean, all those are good things. And the problem is, it's not that we can make those things happen so much as we can stop denying them.
Yes.
We can stop not making them.
I'm with you.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do the reverse of these things. We create environments that don't allow people to be curious. We are afraid to show our own vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because there's a sense that we're supposed to know things.
I see what you mean.
And we do frame problems as execution problems. It has to be done. It has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah.
And so we're doing all of the opposite things to what she says. Now, if we just stop doing the opposite of what Amy Edmondson recommends, we will have those spaces. But
in any case,
you can't kind of force that by layering it on top of the mess you've already got.
I'm with you.
And I think that's where the quote kind of jars with you, right?
Well, I mean, what jars with me is it's this idea of if someone said to me in life, just to step this outside of agile work, hey, it would be unfair for you, Jem, to have to speak for yourself or to sometimes be uncomfortable to make a change. We need a system to be have you feeling safe before you can do that. Like the way I've been raised and the way I live my life and the way I see the world is that, and this is your metaphor as well, I love when you talk about organisations being like a city or a society. If I were to wait for society to make me feel safe, I wonder how many personal improvements I would have made. Yeah, I wonder how much injustice I would have confronted.
I wonder if the peasants in France felt safe before they crashed the gates of the Bastille.
Right. Or,
Probably not.
that's
right?
great.
They
Or,
probably felt incredibly vulnerable and about that they were about to die,
yeah.
and they did it anyway.
There you go. Or Rosa Parks standing up and not sitting down.
She was not safe.
Exactly, and this is where it dovetails back to the start of. I don't think it's about safety per se. I think there's a level of bravery we need to talk about.
It's bravery, yeah.
You know, maybe you need to be. Sometimes you can't wait for. If those things are in place, right, where you have safety and you feel comfortable to speak, and you know there's no repercussions. You know what? Absolutely. I'm not saying we shouldn't kind of aspire to have that in society at work, but we certainly should not encourage people to lose their voice.
We should aspire to it. We shouldn't be waiting for someone else to do it.
Right.
And I think that's the bit of the flaw in what you're seeing in the Amy Edmondson quote there. It's almost as if we can't expect, and we shouldn't expect people to be courageous in an environment where they feel threatened.
No.
And she's absolutely right about that. We shouldn't expect that. But at the same time, if we don't expect any courage or any bravery from people who feel downtrodden, nothing will ever change.
Exactly.
Because the system will always win.
That's right.
You know, and it will get bigger, and we will get more downtrodden. If you don't raise your voice, you're you know, what is that old saw? You're part of the problem.
Of course.
You're not part of the solution.
I mean, there's so many people who are already part of the problem, and not being sinister about it, but they don't even know. The people that are, you know, suppressed often don't know that they're suppressed. And then those who do know may feel that they don't have a voice, and it's being reinforced by someone saying, hey, you've got to wait for leadership to be perfect before you can speak out. Well, how can we transform the world of work if that's like, let's say, the mission of an organisation like the Scrum Alliance? Like, these are words that are powerful. Transforming and creating change means that you can't always wait for the perfect setup.
Yeah. I mean, this idea of safety being institutionalised, I think is the term she uses, right?
That's right, and systemised.
Systemised and institutionalised.
Which I'm not sure if that even sits well with me.
I'm not even sure it sits well with me either.
Like, why should it be institutionalised? Like,
if everything was safe, nothing new would happen.
No.
Nothing new would occur, would it? It would just be bland. It would just have this bland existence.
Well, you'd never have to go on an edge, would you? You'd have to. Maybe you get the best out of people. Like, it's this whole kind of thing about you have to be happy. Well, actually, sometimes when people are unhappy, they find creativity that they would have never found. It's a bit like when people try and say, you know, everyone has to be happy at work, and they try and institutionalise happiness, which is a misunderstanding of transforming the world of work. Like, I'm just going back to this, something to cling on to, some sort of compass. It's okay to have to be brave sometimes.
It is, yeah.
You know, discomfort. There's a level of growth and stretch. It shouldn't be a traumatic event that's going to scar you.
Right.
But there's so much to learn about the challenge of going into a place which is a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. And going through struggle. There's
something about that.
A case I've read this somewhere, I can't remember where, that the best cuisines in the world come from the poorest countries. The people that have most struggle. Most starvation have to be very creative in what they choose to eat. You know, why would people eat birds' nests, for example, or rotten food? But they do, and they've created cuisines out of this that are now selling to the West and making, you know, lots of people rich.
Because of that.
Because of the struggle, because of the struggle, because of having. So I'm not saying it's the same thing. It's
no,
not,
but you can draw a parallel here. I mean, even genres of music, like things like the blues, right? If you understand the origin. Like, through struggle, you can have something powerful happen to yourself and society. And I'm not saying don't try and create an environment that encourages people to speak their mind and it's going to be okay if you get it wrong. I'm all for that. You can't have an experiment without failure, right? Doesn't make sense. But at the same time, you have an inner locus and outer locus, and I should feel encouraged to, you know what? It's okay to step out of your comfort zone.
So I think the search for psychological safety, is possibly the wrong search. You know, and this term brave space that we've encountered recently is quite powerful. So how do we create brave space? That feels alive to me. Safe space feels
dormant,
bland and dormant. It feels dormant, yeah. So brave space, you know, and it doesn't mean that you have to step up and sort of like mouth off to your manager or something like that.
That's right.
It's about inner bravery. You know, how do I show up in my brave space when I go to work, rather than waiting for someone else to make the environment safe so I feel that I can say the things I need to say.
And maybe there's something about the way the word bravery is understood in society. They might think of Bruce Willis like stopping a comet hitting the earth, or you doing something dramatic. Sometimes bravery is not saying anything. Sometimes, often bravery is walking away.
It's walking away, yeah.
You know, bravery can be about letting things go. So there is a lot of, there is something noble about being brave as well, right? Like, I don't want people to think that it has to be some big, dramatic, radical Hollywood movie. It's not that. And I do think it's the wrong search.
I think what I don't know about walking away. It might be about walking away sometimes, but it's more about being strong within your own integrity. Like to say, I'm not gonna. You can't take this away from me.
Yeah, I hear that.
It's that kind of. People can be brave in the most dire of circumstances because they recognise that you can't take away someone's dignity, no matter what you do to them.
Right.
But you can if you let them. I can let you take away my dignity. I can give it to you. I can completely surrender and fall apart.
Yep.
Right. But so bravery is me holding on, is recognising my own my integrity, my dignity, my power.
Yes.
If you like, really, that's bravery.
Maybe you're kind of crystallising my whole concern about this emphasis on safety. It feels disempowering to an extent. It's removing that personal power that we all have. And look, like I say, I strive to make the society a better place, but in parallel, I'm not going to stop reducing my personal power.
Yeah, and you know the other aspect of safety that's interesting is there are a lot of people who have spent many years of their life in prison, and prison to them is a safe place. They do not want to be released. When they're released, they commit a crime in order to go back to their safe place.
There you go.
So we've got to be careful what we wish for here, right? Are we wishing for a better choice of prison, perhaps, when we say we want a safe space?
Well, there are people who with addictions that see it the same. People who are in abusive relationships that see it the same because that's what they know.
Yeah.
And so, without being brave, how can you go beyond what you know?
Beyond safety.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. You've got to go. I personally feel you've got to go beyond it. But yeah, it just didn't bode well with me when I read that. It just made me feel like my personal power dial, if I'd accepted that, would be all the way turned down. And I'd have to wait for leadership's behaviours and values to be perfect before I could speak up. It may be me speaking up that can actually bring them along. Are you with me? It's that bravery that helped create that transformation. Sitting there may have just made me manage the status quo.
Yep. So, what we got? A few thoughts, personal opinion from Jem and from me.
Yeah.
And no solutions, no
Certainly
conclusion.
not. No, absolutely not. And you know, it'll be great to get the feedback and the thoughts of the people on the other side of the camera, Tanner included, of course. I don't know, what do you think about it? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and interested to get involved in the conversation.
Awesome. Until next time.
Bye.